They are the build-it-yourself beasts that can lap tracks and out-accelerate multi-million-dollar hypercars for a fraction of the price. And the kits, or the fully built cars, depending on your taste, date back nearly 70 years. And the guys that build them are called Caterham. As I stated, this story dates back nearly 70 years to 1957, with Lotus's base model, the 7. It was a pure race car for the road, but did not cost race car money. If you built it yourself, it cost $17,500 today, or $39,000 today if you had Lotus build it for you. How? Because there quite simply wasn't much car. It was sort of like the 1950s version of an aerial atom. It was an open wheeler with no amenities like a radio or a roof or doors, which meant it was light, just 1,100 pounds. But that meant its cheap yet low horsepower 1.1 liter Ford engine still gave it plenty of pep, 0 to 60 in 6.2 seconds. For 1957, that is very good. And it got 26 mpg. Now, that lack of horsepower meant that it had a top speed of just 80 miles an hour, but I wouldn't even recommend that because apparently the nose actually generated lift at 70 miles an hour. Now, these problems were resolved by the 1970s with the Super 7s of the early 70s, which had Cosworth tuning, 105 horsepower, reworked aerodynamics, and disc brakes all around. But as UK tax laws began to close the kit car exemption loophole, Lotus began focusing on actual production cars. And this is where Graham Nearn comes in. He and his Caterham Cars shop had been a Lotus 7 dealer since the 1960s, and he still saw some value in the 7. So he bought the rights from Colin Chapman in 1973, and the first Caterham 7s were built in the same year that they were bought, 1973, 21 of them to be precise. And they were all exactly the same as the Lotus 7, except for one, which was a race car, which instead of having a Ford engine, it had a Alfa Romeo twin-cam 2-liter inline-4. Now, apart from that oddity of a racer, Caterhams have been more or less the same as a base model since 1957, so let's, for the simplicity's sake, first take a look at the Caterhams that are not the 7, and then we'll run back to the 7 to finish it off, okay? So we start out with the 21. Why? I don't know, but they called it that. And between 1994 and 1999, Caterham tried to make a body-styled version of the 7. And it looked a lot like a front-engine Elise, to be honest. Technically, it was better than the 7. It was more aerodynamic, the bodywork made the chassis stiffer, and the extra weight made the ride smoother. And it was still light, 1,500 pounds with a 133 horsepower K-Series engine. It was a genuinely good Caterham. But people didn't see it that way. Public reception was very mixed, and only 48 were ever built. Fast forward to 2012 when they decided to step it up a notch from going to road cars to proper race cars, called the SP300R. It was co-developed by the Lola Lamar team, and it was a track-only weapon, 1,000 pounds of downforce, 300 horsepower, 1,300 pound curb weight, and super sticky race tires that turn the faint-hearted into goo around the bends. All for just $100,000, which is not bad, actually. Apparently, Caterham only made 25 of them per year, and I could not find they were still in production, so I think that's all that they made. The SP300R was not their only adventure into racing. They have a karting series to start off young drivers in cheaper series, which then progresses into the Caterham Academy and the Caterham Motorsport Ladder, which are novice-only motorsport series featuring Caterham 7s. It is estimated that over 1,000 professional racing drivers got their start in a Caterham. And if you want to bump it up into a more professional, serious racing sensation, Caterham founded Caterham Racing in 2012, which entered GP2 and Formula 1. That's quite a step up from a one-make racing series with your kit cars to Formula 1. Tony Fernandez bought the failing Team Lotus and renamed it into Caterham F1, and you know what? It still sucks, scoring 0 points over 3 years. Literally the only good thing to come out of that team was that it made the Caterham brand internationally known, because people went, what the hell is that? And they googled it, and all the Caterhams came up, and they went, oh, well, that's pretty cool, I want one of those. So, with that being said, let's focus on those. The 7. There are so many different versions of the 7 available, it's hard to keep track, but we're gonna give it a try. The Series 3 is the most popular, bare-bones base model that has basically stayed the same since the 1970s with better technology and better materials. The Series 5 is a scaled-up version of the 3 to accommodate a larger cabin and some luggage space. The Series 6 is called the CSR, and it's the only Caterham not purchasable by a kit. Probably because it's a significantly upgraded version with a Cosworth 260 horsepower engine, proper pushrod suspension, and they don't want people building that, which is reasonable. Now, both the Series 3 and the Series 5 are also available in 3 different trims: Classic, Road Sport, and Super Light. Classic is the most basic version with a simple K-Series engine and no features whatsoever. It's also one of the lightest. The Road Sport trims are the Caterham Academy cars, and then the Super Lights are where things get dialed up to 11. Generally, the Super Lights are the special racing versions, such as the R300, the R400, and the R600. But once in a while, Caterham decides to take their Super Light class and take it off the track and onto the road. And with the new materials of the 21st century, Caterham can take the term light to new levels. The brand spanking new 2021 170R does not weigh less than a ton. It weighs less than half a ton, 947 pounds plus the driver to be precise. That is why, despite having just 84 horsepower, it does 0 to 60 in under 7 seconds. It's one of the lightest cars in the world, and that helps the handling. It literally handles like a go-kart because it's the exact same weight as one. Now, I know you're thinking, I want a crazy light death machine. Then if I get into an accident, if anything bigger than a bicycle, I just die. But I also want to have more than 84 horsepower. Well, Caterham has their solution, called the R500. They took their small Series 3, gave it some sticky road tires, some fiberglass here, some carbon fiber there, and a 263 horsepower, 2-liter 4-cylinder to make a monster. For 50,000 USD, you could buy a road-legal car that could do 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds and lap the Top Gear test track in 1 minute 17.9, which is faster than the original Bugatti Veyron. There is a reason they named it Car of the Year, I think in 2010? Maybe 2011? I don't remember the exact year. But they named it Top Gear TV's Car of the Year. It's an incredible machine, but Caterham wanted more. So they added a supercharger to it and called it the 620R. It makes 315 horsepower, 220 torque, and a rear-wheel drive, 1200 horsepower little go-kart. And when you manage to vaguely control the throttle, this thing will lap million-dollar hypercars into last week. Despite the extra power, it's still really not that fast in a straight line. But, again, provided you can get the power down through those skinny tires and lightweight, around the corners, it will annihilate everything but the zenith of track-only specials. It's an amazing machine. I have a Lego model of it too, fun fact. I love these cars, but strangely, the 620R, this crazy supercharged yellow coffin, is not the baddest Caterham ever made, no. The most brutal Caterham has a Spanish name and was built in America. It was called the Levante. RS Performance Engine Development took a Series 5 Caterham, rebuilt it out of carbon fiber, and then proceeded to tear out that puny Ford Duratec and throw in a custom-built 2.4-liter, 40-valve, supercharged V8, making 550 horsepower to the wheels. And it only weighs 1,150 pounds. To try and make those numbers fathomable, let's do a comparison. The Corvette C7 ZR1 has 468 horsepower per ton. The crazy Caterham R500 has 520 horsepower per ton. The Koenigsegg Agera RS, the fastest production car in the world, has 961 horsepower per ton. The Levante, 1,038 horsepower per ton. And it's rear-wheel drive. And it's the size of like a Yugo. And it only costs just $110,000. And if you wanted to buy one of the 8 cars produced, you need to take a special training course just to get behind the wheel. It's that dangerous of a car. It's a beast. So yes, Caterham is still very much thriving. And with the sad end of production for the Lotus Elise, there have been rumors spreading, nothing confirmed by Caterham in any way, I should make that clear, that they will buy the rights to the Elise and continue producing it just like they did with the 7. Again, no definitive, even rumors from Caterham themselves, but it's speculation from the community, and I think that's a really good idea because I genuinely don't think the Elise has had its ultimate form, because things are only going to get faster as technology progresses up until that gasoline car ban in a decade or so. So, Caterham, it's your call. The future of the Elise is waiting.